Hey, it's Mission Native Survival. We have night fastly approaching, but I want to harvest this plant with you guys. Stay tuned.
Alright, so what we're looking at is a patch of daylilies. So let's get down and dirty. Okay, so just to give you a heads up, I'm probably only about 60 yards off the road, so I guarantee you're going to be hearing some cars and things like that. But that happens to be where I found this plant. We're going to make it happen. Alright, so let's get started. Same as usual, right? Expose the plant. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is dig around and expose the roots and bring it up. It's time to expose some of these little tubers. Alright, so that's where we're at. Almost done. Okay, so now what I want to do is find out how deep the roots go on this plant. I know that they're not any wider than this at this level. I see some tubers here, and this is my goal. Okay, I want to keep excavating around this plant until I find where all the tubers are, and I don't destroy any of them on my way around the plant, taking it out. I'm going to just use my hands, real gentle. Taking my hands and just working them underneath the plant. Found some more tubers back here. That's what we're looking for. It's excellent. Okay. Slowly dig down gently. I think I feel another one right here, or a root anyway, so gotta be careful. Obviously I don't want to leave any food in the ground, so I'm going to go slow and slowly take it out. See, you can see this tubers down here way at the bottom. Zoom in for you. That's my goal, is to not just pull up and sever the roots right here and leave the food in the ground. So I'm digging around. See, I keep finding tubers deeper in the earth. There's another one right here I have to try to get out here. There we go, another good one. Okay. So the plant is connected by one more of these shoots. I'm going to see if it has a tuber at the end of it. And it does. It's deeper than all the rest. I'm going to just be careful. There we go. Alright, so now we have the whole plant we've taken up. Let's clean it off and see what we got. Alright, so here we have it on our rucksack makeshift table here. So this is the goal for the roots anyways, are these tubers. This plant has quite a bit. I haven't counted them, but I mean it has to be There's like 6 right there. 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 23. You know, it's gotta be maybe even 24, 25 of them on there, so there's a pretty big score for that one plant, you know? It's a nice little meal. And there's more to eat than just the tubers, okay? We'll get into that later. First, let's clean it up and see what we've got. So I'm gonna just start working this down. Now, this is my first time working with daylily, so I'm really interested in what I find. And one thing I can say right now is I just found at the base of the plant, it's really interesting, very fine hair. See if I can show it too close. Yeah, I mean, that's got bird nest written all over it. That's good to know. There's a sheath, one of the tubers. Don't need that. Just some roots and stuff I can get rid of. Now, I read that tubers and the heart and the leaves are what you're after. You don't really want the roots. So I'm going to start by separating all the parts of this plant, taking off all these roots, putting them off to the side, and then I'm going to take the tubers and separate them as well, and I'll get back to you. All I'm doing is just twisting them, separate them from the rootstock. Don't need any cutting with a knife or anything like that. Metal or stone. Okay, this one's soft, so I don't want that. Alright, so for identifying, what you're looking for is these plants that grow pretty close together, white towards the bottom, heading towards the root, which lead to these tubers attached to the root. And the leaves have this interesting growth style where they overlap each other. So basically they grow with a fold in the middle, just like this. So they fold in half, and in the middle of that, the next leaf grows, and so on. So you can see it happens again in between these two, and in between these two, and then these two. So the openings grow towards each other of the leaves. Looks like there's actually another one in there as well. Right there. It's probably the newest one. That one right there. Okay. So they grow very flat. Very skinny plant. It's wide and flat. White at the bottom with tubers. And this is obviously very, very early in its growth, as it's very early spring right now. Alright, so I'm going to pick one of these, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit. See if I can peel this layer off the root. Very thin brown layer. Obviously has the dirt on it. Smells good. Alright, close enough. Really not that picky. Just a paper thin layer on the outside. Okay, so I'm gonna taste it, see what it tastes like. Interesting. Has a very high water content. Very thin, kind of light flavor to it. It's pretty good. Very mild flavor. Almost no flavor. It's good stuff. It's really good. You know, basing that on some other edibles that are like so powerful that you can barely eat them, like say raw acorns from most of the acorns around here, because we have a lot of northern red oaks around here. It's really intense to eat them. These are actually quite delicious. Wow. Really starchy. Tastes like really light and kind of watery. Reminds me of watercress. Whenever I eat Asian food, you get those circles, those cuts of like watercress. I think might be the root. Tastes identical to that. Has like that really light, kind of watery like taste. Alright, that's really good. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and try this section of the plant. It's supposed to be reminiscent of scallions, so let's see if it holds up to that adjective. Okay, I'm gonna just peel back some of these outer layers. Nice piece. Keep all the stuff right here. This smells almost identical to the roots. Well, let's give it a shot. Does taste like scallions. How about that? A little milder. Wow, it tastes just like scallions, just a little milder. That's awesome. Wow, it tastes great. That's awesome. Nice. That was good. That heart is fantastic. Really pleased with that. So far, 2 for 2. Big fan. Well, let's work on these green leaves. Now, I've read that these green leaves, I'm cleaning it off over here so the dirt doesn't fall and everything else. That these green leaves, when they're sauteed in butter, taste reminiscent of onions or scallions. Obviously, I'm not gonna be pulling out any butter out of my rucksack. There's no butter in the woods, right? But it's okay. I like eating onions and scallions raw just as well. So let's give this a shot. Now, you might notice that I'm not tearing into this plant like I do plants that I usually eat. And that's because it's my first time eating this plant. So I'm just trying a little bit of each piece, and you know, I'm not overindulging and going out of control, you know, because each plant is different for each person. Okay, so it might be edible, but maybe, you know, for me personally, it will have an ill effect, and maybe it won't. I don't know. So I'm gonna take it easy. I'm just taking little pieces of it, trying it out. I know it's an edible plant, but again, I'm just checking it out. Now, one thing I see here in the leaves, hopefully I can get that for you guys. It's that parallel growth. Looks like cordage. I'm gonna have to hit up these plants when they're much older and see if I can make some rope out of this, because it does split. Look at that, really easily. It's nice and straight. Yeah, it's not too bad. No, that one didn't split very good. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, I'm gonna eat this. This is just a little bit of the leaf. It's edible. It's supposed to be slightly like onions. Well, it didn't taste like onions. One thing I gotta say though is that it completely broke apart in my mouth. It wasn't like eating like leaves from trees or something, where, you know, you're chewing on it and it's just like a bunch of cellulose. That it really didn't seem to be the case with this plant. I'll eat a little more. You know, normally when you're chewing on like leaves, green growth like this, usually, you know, you're chewing and chewing and chewing. You just seem to be chewing, right? Like clover. You keep chewing clover, and it just seems to, you know, seems to have enough cellulose in it to kind of never really go away. This is completely dissolved in my mouth. It's gone. It's like completely eviscerated. Interesting. Alright. Good times. Alright, so this is what we got. We have the tubers, we have the leaves, we have the heart, and that was the three pieces that I ate today. And the only thing I didn't eat was the extensions of the roots, because it didn't specifically say the roots were edible, so I'm going to be real specific about this stuff. So until I try a little bit of this and it doesn't give me any problems, then I'm going to leave it alone, right? Alright, so the heart part of it was delicious. I would eat all of this just happily. The green leaves, they were great. There weren't any issues there. They were so mild, they pretty much didn't have any flavor at all. And they really didn't bind up in my mouth when I ate them. So they're pretty much just vitamins, you know. They're just a bunch of chlorophyll and goodness, you know, energy energy directly from the sun. So good times. And the heart, phenomenal. It tasted like scallions. I'm a huge fan of onions. The tubers tasted like watercress, pretty much. A little different because it's a different plant, you know. It has its own flavor, but it's pretty much what it tastes like, and I could chomp on those all day as well. So now let's go and pull out some books. Alright, so the first one we're going to use is Wild Plants I've Known and Eaten by Russ Cohen. I studied under him back in 2009. He's a local expert. And on page 67 of his book, is a short section on daylilies right here. And the reason why I wanted to show this, I'll zoom in because my tripod's getting in the way, is that he drew a picture of the tubers. Right there. So you can see the tubers attached to the root right in the middle. And the leaves which overlap and grow into each other. Now obviously this plant has other parts like flowers, but those aren't out right now. Now that is the only book that I own that actually has a picture of the tubers like that. Every other book I have has a picture of the flowers blooming and the classic, you know, daylily picture. So I'm glad he added that. It's pretty cool. I'm not surprised. He's a very detail-oriented guy. So this is why I was hesitant to eat a ton of this stuff. Okay. It says 5 different parts of daylilies are considered edible. However, a small segment of the population, less than 5%, will experience digestive upset when eating daylilies, especially uncooked. So it's wise to start with modest amounts to see how well your system can handle it. Wise words. Okay, so he mentions that the first edible segment is a cluster of yellowish tan starchy tubers that lay underground at the base of each plant. Right, and that's where we went. These are edible raw or cooked like a potato, so they can be baked, boiled, mashed, etc. The hearts, which is a tender inner growth at the center of each developing cluster of leaves, which is the white part, may be eaten raw or used like scallions, which they resemble in flavor, and they do. Flower buds, flowers, and wilted flowers are the other 3 parts, and they're also edible, but obviously that part hasn't grown up in the plant yet. Alright, in our Peterson's Edible Wild Plants, the book, you want to go to page 92, and you see on the next page over, picture of the flower, like most guides usually give, with the leaves right here. Some other plants, some of them are edible, some aren't. Okay. Alright, so here we have the daylily. And young shoots, flowers, flower buds, the tubers. And notice the basal leaves are light green, long and sword-like. The root is a tangle of small elongated tubers. It's found in waste ground, escape from gardens, things like that. Flowers June through August. Now you can eat it in a salad, which would be raw. Asparagus, which is usually fried, maybe boiled. Cooked vegetable, same thing, or steamed. Fritters is frying or seasoning. Obviously it could be a rub or like scallions, things like that, where you chop really fine and add to other dishes. Say like onions and eggs, things like that, right? So it's a little known but excellent food source, and you either early shoots the salads or prepare like asparagus, like it already said. Okay, so right here is the part that I started with. Crisp snow white tubers found early in the year. We'll prepare them like corn. I just ate it raw. You want them to be firm, not soft. And all year, the tubers are available all year. So, again, that's page 92. It's daylily. And another great thing about this plant is that, when you find one, you actually really find a real dense, huge colony of them. I've never seen this plant really grow less than a dozen at a time. And considering the fact that, I just got all this food, there's quite a bit here, all this food from that one plant, out of all of those others, It's so readily available. I mean, there was almost no prep. You know, I mean, I just scraped this a little bit. Tubers are good to go. The hearts you can eat just as they are. The greens, eat them just as they are. I mean, I'm just scraping dirt off here. You know what I mean? So it's really easy to find because early in the year there's a lot of leaves and things in the ground where everything's brown, and then all of a sudden you see like a mat, a small tight mat, you know, it might be 10 feet by 10 feet of light green in the forest. So you head over there, and it's almost every time I've ever done that, almost every time, it's been daylily. So I figured I'd finally try these tubers out, because finding carbohydrates in tubers like this in the woods can be tricky sometimes. And you know, I'm glad that I was able to find a nice patch that had so many, because in this way, you know, I could really, you know, experiment with this plant. You know, I really wanted to see how many tubers it would give me, one plant out of the colony. And you know, just to count, you know, it's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22. I ate one, so 23. So it's 23 tubers in this plant. That's pretty fantastic. I mean, this is a good size, you know? It's a good size. Like 20 of these. You know, there's got to be at least 10 of them that are this size, and then all the others are a little smaller. So it's pretty awesome. Lots of leaves here to eat. The heart is probably the best tasting out of all of it. So I'm real happy with that. Alright, well, thanks a lot for joining me tonight on this little nighttime foraging of some daylily. How funny is that, right? Nighttime forage of a daylily plant. I'll see you guys in the next one. Appreciate your views, comments, and support. Take care.